it's a preview. Kerbal Space Program version 1.0. No longer alpha, no longer beta. This is it, the release version of the game. They're going to continue developing the game after this, but this is the version in which every system that they originally wanted, the original design documents for KSP, it's all here. Everything is working. So, yeah, things will continue to happen after this, but this is the big one. We're saying this game is ready to go live. As I'm recording this, it's just a couple of days before this update is scheduled to be released, but still it's entirely possible that there will be things will change in the experimental versions. You know, it's possible that what I record here may not be what you get. It should be pretty close, though. Okay, so yeah, let's go ahead and click on the Start Game Business. First thing I want to mention is that actually even before starting recording, I was just loading the thing up, there's been several performance upgrades, bug fixes, memory leaks are fixed, the textures in the game have been optimized. It has a smaller memory footprint and it loads faster, so it's all very, very good. You know what? I want to start a new sandbox save. And let me see here. Let's go into our difficulty options. Let's take a look here. Re-entry heating, 100%. This is one of the new major features, is an entire heat and temperature system that is affecting every part in the game and every planet. Every body in the game has a temperature, and heat can be transferred from one object to another, you know, through convection, conduction, radiation. It is a detailed and it's a real meaty update. You know, there's a lot of things you can do with the heat. It's not just re-entry effects, but you've got a slider. If you think your re-entry heat is too brutal, turn it down. If you want it to be a little bit more brutal, turn it up. We're going to, just for the purpose of this video, I'm going to leave everything at the default settings. Resource abundance. This update also introduces an entirely new resource system. ISRU is what we're calling this, where you send a satellite, you scan to find ore, the presence of ore on planets, moons, asteroids. If you find ore, then you can put a lander there with a drill. You can extract the ore from the ground, and you can process it, and you can convert that ore into liquid fuel, into oxidizer, or into monopropellant. And again, I really love having options to customize your own gameplay experience. So if you think you've got too much ore, too many resources, it's too easy to find, turn it down. If you want more, turn it up. So simple. Let's do that. We'll just call this update video. How about that? Yeah, I just want to do something new just so we could see that. Yep, there's Chirpy Bird still chirping at us. Here's Gene Kerman saying, nice to meet you. Thank you, Gene. I appreciate that. Let's go in. Let's see. Okay, one little quality of life update. Click this thing. Warp to next morning. How often have you been launching your rockets at night? And yeah, I mean, you could just... It's pretty easy to hit the buttons to fast forward, but it's just a convenience feature. It's a nice to have, and I like it. What I want to do is I want to get into here to the vehicle assembly building and talk about parts. There has been a major balance pass that has happened to, I think it's to every part in the game. If it isn't every part right now as I'm recording it, before release it probably will be, where they've gone and reconsidered reconsidered the mass, reconsidered things like the reaction wheel, torque. The changes have been made. I do have to say that your previous designs, there's a very good chance that they're not going to work anymore, because many of these things have been changed. Here, this little nose cone is now it's an SAS. So yeah, lots of changes like that. Here, I just want to show off something. Look at this, what we have over on the side of these thumbnails. We've got these little thumbnail sketches, so you can see a picture of what the vehicle is. Sometimes I can't speak. I think that's extremely cool. There's also another thing that's happening that we can demonstrate. Here, let's see. I'll just load one of these stock craft to demonstrate. We've got, yeah, Lear Star. pretty cool, I suppose. Let's see, we've got a new option down here for merge. Let's say I pick up the ion-powered space probe, and I click merge. It's a lot like the sub-assembly, and if I had a, if we had a attach node free, could I put it? Well, I thought I could. There should be a way to attach that to something. Maybe it doesn't have an attach node free. But in any case, if I pick different ones to demonstrate, very like the subassembly. So it's an easy way to combine, multiple vehicles. Let's load this thing that I put together. Oh, this is the other thing. Yeah, take a look. Because I made changes and then I went to go and load something, it asked, "Are you sure? How many times have you accidentally made a permanent change to a vehicle and you did not want to?" Yeah. Don't save, thank you. Let's go to this thing that I put together. I call it Sandbox Station. Let's load this one. What I have here is a really simple spaced station hub. We got our science lab, we got our hitchhiker, we've got a docking adapter, some RCS. It's nothing special, and I've got a very simple rocket. We've got the mainsail down there, we got a poodle in there, and now in the old system of the game, with the old aerodynamics, this would have worked just fine. With the new aerodynamics, all this stuff that's sticking out here is going to cause us a whole lot of drag. It's going to cause some instability. We have an excellent solution to take care of that problem. Come over here to the aerodynamics tab. We have, they're calling them Airstream Protective Shells. I want the 2.5 meter version. Let me see. I want it to go, right here after this decoupler. I'll put my aero shell right in there, and just after you place it, immediately it defaults. It defaults to starting to edit to create your payload fairings. These are procedural payload fairings, the first procedural parts to actually be added directly to the game. Click left mouse button to put them down, put down a section, and you can make a variety of shapes with this thing. You don't have to make just something really normal, standard, or sensible. You have fun with them, man. Okay, I want to go down here. Let's click on this. Let's go start over. Yeah, left mouse to place a part, right mouse to cancel that part and go back. And you can even just click completely off the thing and start over. Let's build fairing. So I want to come out a little bit like that. That's good. And the way this works is it'll go up some and it'll stop. It just follows your mouse. It goes up and stop. You have to click, place another section, click, place another section. Well, I want to come about here. And now we'll slope inwards like that. Actually, probably come taking a look at how far these things stick out. Probably don't want to slope inward too much. Yeah, that's about right. That's about as far as I want to go. Okay. It's actually not going to allow me to place that there. So I need to back up. I need to... okay, we're not going to slope inward at that point. We'll go and we'll start sloping inward from here. Now, you've got a lot of freedom. You can make this as long and pointy as you like, or you can... Hang on, let's go back here and edit this thing. Edit fairing. Thank you. Or you can make it rounded up top. Let's... Okay. Will it let me do that? Yes, it will. Good. And the very last, you see it's highlighted, left mouse button, close, fairing. There we go. I really, really like this system. You can... that without having to take the payload fairing off, you can still just go in here and directly work on edit stuff. You decide you don't like the design that I have for the RCS tanks, you can move them around, do something different with them. I think that is extremely excellent. Okay, pull that off of there, and you can see that while we were working on it, let me see if we go ahead and do it again. Edit fairing, and you'll see that we have highlighted down here. You can read it. It tells you how much it costs and how much mass. So my total payload fairing is about about 6.5 tons of payload fairing in order to save us all that drag. Okay, let's go and put my rocket back on there. Very simple rocket. Do a staging check. There's my mainsail. There's my launch clamps. Okay, we want these to be, I want these guys to be in their own stage, and that's the icon for our payload fairing, and that's when we're to actually take our orbital stage off of the payload. Okay, cool. Another thing I want to talk about, we've got this guy down here, Engineer's Report. This is useful. It's a routine that looks for common mistakes that happen whenever you're building a vehicle of any sort, and gives you, okay, well, in addition to telling you, the parts, mass, and the dimensions of it, empty crew cabins. Here, we actually need to go up here. Because I'm launching this is a rocket that can carry Kerbals, but I am launching it unmanned. Yeah, it goes and it gives me, hey, are you sure you want to do that? And the best thing, if you go, see, take a look right here. If you go and you mouse over the specific report, the error, it's highlighted which part is having the problem, or parts in this case. And it's also telling me hatch obstructed. Well, yeah, there's a payload fairing. So whenever I initially heard about the engineer's report, about it telling you about errors, I was afraid that it would be a more intrusive or a more silly feature than it is. And it is not. You can easily ignore it if you feel like you're a real pro and you don't need to look at that stuff. I'll say that okay, I've been playing the game 3.5 years, and just in the past few days of messing around with the early experimental version, it's already told me about a couple of mistakes that I was making, especially with things like more complicated fuel arrangements. It says, hey, your fuel tank is not connected to anything. It's like, oh well, I better take care of that. So that works. Here, let's save this, and let's go ahead and launch this rocket. Okay, here it is. Oh, another really nifty feature, which I'm so happy to show off to you. I'm not going to launch this rocket, I'm just going to light it. Check this out. Our flame trenches underneath the launch pad are diverting the smoke away. Ain't that just the coolest thing ever? I think it is extremely nifty. Of course, now I've used up a bunch of fuel just showing that off. It's a simple, nice to see. Let's revert this to launch. It's something just really simple that makes the game look better, and it's a good feature. I like it. Okay, precision control, throttle to 0. Turn that thing on. Camera to free. Resource meter up. Okay, now I want to take my space station core and I'm going to put it into a 250-kilometer orbit, and I want to demonstrate how to launch a rocket. This rocket could not possibly be simpler. How to launch a rocket in our new updated aerodynamic system. First thing you'll notice, I'm not going to turn the SAS on. Let's light that up, throttle it up. And launch. Okay, just leave it tracking straight until we get a little bit of speed. Once it gets up there, say like 30 meters per second or so, we'll very gradually start tilting it over towards the 90-degree line. I like doing this roll program where I roll it over and I put the 90-degree line up at the top of the nav ball. That is just, that's because after doing a whole bunch of space shuttles over the years, that I'm comfortable reading the nav ball that way. You don't have to. You can just leave it sideways if you like. And now if we take a look, I'm making just the smallest little control, just barely tapping on the key, and we're just going to gradually maintain, keep this thing pitching over. So it's following a curve. We're not going to go straight up to, what is it, like go straight up to 10 kilometers and then do a sudden pitch over. No, we're just going to do a gradual curve. And I left the SAS off, both to demonstrate that you don't need it, and also because there can be a bug where it gets wobbles and it's actually more difficult to control with the SAS on. Alright, as we get a little more altitude, you can deviate away from that prograde vector mark and a little bit more. Yeah. And, yeah, so this is, we're just trying to be kind of graceful and smooth about it. Yeah, once you get above, say, about 20 kilometers altitude, You can get even further away from the prograde mark. I like limiting. Limiting my throttle to try and keep it below 3 Gs of acceleration. You can experiment for yourself. Whoops! Hang on. Try start to lose a little bit of control there. All right. Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's go to map view. And see my apoapsis up there, 83 kilometers already. And we'll just kind of leave this centered on the horizon and keep burning away. Keep throttling back just a little bit. And really, I'm not going to turn the SAS on until I'm done. Yep, I am now done with our first stage. Okay, so let's stage that off of there. Let's go ahead, and I'm actually going to, I don't know what is the perfectly efficient altitude in which to detach the payload fairings. 60 kilometers seems to work. I mean, there's a certain altitude where the drag that it's causing, is... There comes a point where it's better to get rid of the fairings because their mass is costing you more than the aerodynamics is saving you. Some other people can crunch the numbers, and I like the way that the payload fairings separate. It seems to me a Kerbal way to do things. Kerbals like explosions. I mean, they are competent engineers. They build good stuff, but they do like explosions, and it seems to me that if Kerbals were going to build a payload fairing, they would do it with the way where it shatters into dozens of pieces all over the place. Unlike some of the modded payload fairings, which people may be familiar with, these payload fairings, whenever they separate on all those pieces are not persistent. They're using the same code as, say, like the fragments whenever you break a solar panel. The pieces go away and they just disappear. So it's much simpler to deal with. All right, there is 250. Okay, so that is how simple a launch can be, even though we're not technically all the way in orbit yet. Yeah, just you don't have to limit your throttle as long as your initial thrust to weight is low enough, so you're not pulling any more than, say, 2 Gs off the launch pad. You're not going to be in any danger of hitting your terminal velocity in the low altitude like you were in the old aerodynamics. So go ahead and throttle it up and go ahead and just start at pitching over for your gravity turn pretty much immediately off the pad, and just try to keep a nice gentle curve through the whole launch. All right, another thing we want to talk about, a quality of life move. See, I could I could click on these arrows over here in order to get up to my apoapsis. I could use the keyboard, or I could click right here a little bit before my apoapsis, and I could click warp here. Hey, and there it goes. The warp system, it'll automatically select the highest possible warp for your setting. If it changes altitude in the course of warping along, then it'll change its warp speed. It is a very, very convenient system. It's easy to use. It works exactly the way you think it should work, and I am pleased with that. Slope. 47, okay, 251. All right, we'll do a little bit more fine-tuning on that. Yeah, a couple of burns there. We are in 250-kilometer orbit. I'm going to get my stage off of here. We can tweak these so that I've actually turned the decoupler force way down on my orbital stage. Here we go. So that thing is just gently backing off because I never liked it having this huge kick. Okay, next thing I want to do is I'm going to send a flight with some crew up here, some crew for the space station, and I'm going to use that flight to talk about some other features. I want to talk about airplane parts. Porkjet. Guy was a modder. I guess, how do you say it? It's technically still a modder, but he's got a whole lot of parts that are now officially part of the game, and he's been expanding onto them. Let's take a look over here in our aerodynamics tab. Actually, tell you what, here, let me do it this way. We'll just build ourselves. And hang on, let's load. No, don't save. Let's load in where I was working on this. Pale Pachyderm 2. Which was a work in progress, and it It isn't ready yet, but I was working away on it. So things you notice. Big wings. We're calling these the Mark III wings. I will note in passing as we go that the manufacturer for these parts is pretty dang cool. Okay, yeah, new wing parts, new ailerons, you know, our control surfaces, those are working pretty cool. And we have new nose cones, aerodynamic nose cones to go on things. We both have both the straight and the bent, so we can do Soyuz style boosters on the sides of rockets, those kinds of things. We have, if we don't want to do those kinds of wings, we have these other wings. Here, let me just pull this off. Let me find where'd my wing part. Oh yeah, we've got a space shuttle look-alike tail fin, which I have on that. We also have another kind of very large tail fin. If you're not going for a precise space shuttle look-alike. Porkjet has said that some of these wing parts that he's doing, he's specifically going for a look to try and replicate a space shuttle with the Mark III parts. So we've got this wing part here, which is the nice tapered delta wing, and if you go, it comes standard when you first select it with no fuel, but you can load it up with fuel. In the real world, almost all aircraft have fuel in the wings. This has been a great omission for years in Kerbal Space Program because of the old aerodynamics and drag system. It made it a bad idea to have fuel in the wings. Now we can, and isn't that beautiful? We also have this other large wing strake. It's supposed to go on the front of that thing. That one can also have fuel inside of it. So that's pretty cool. What else do we have over here? Engine nacelles. These are some of our old parts have now been modified. They've been updated, and we're making them look better. So there's our new and improved and beautified engine nacelle. Give it a circular intake. New and improved and beautified. Or if you don't like the circular intake, our old ram air intake has been replaced with a ramp air. This has very, some of the same stats as can be said, but well, sort of the same stats. It's the whole aerodynamic system is new, so it's not really the same, you understand. We got this guy over here. This is an air brake. Here, let's turn that thing on. Yeah, dedicated air brake kind of thing. That's kind of fun. Let me see what other things we have. Oh yes, tail connector. So the tail connector has been beautified and improved, and we also have another part that I have been longing for a while. Tail connector slanted like that, so you can elevate it off so it's make the tail strikes upon rotating on the runway less likely. Very pleased about that. Let me see. I see the nuclear engine on here, which reminds me something that I need to mention, even though it's not a airplane part. All these engines have all their stats redone to work with our new aerodynamic system. The nuclear engine, they removed the gimbal and they've made it thing so that now it runs on liquid fuel only. It no longer runs on liquid fuel and oxidizer. So that's going to be a big change for everybody to deal with. Okay, let me see here. Other things that we want to talk about. Say if I attach some control surfaces to here, we'll just load the same aircraft that I had before. Don't save. Load Pale Pachyderm 2. Load that. Thank you. We have options here. Say if I have these large control surfaces in here at the wing root, I can click on that, and the things that I can do is deploy. Not invert it. Hang on, I did that wrong. There we go. I need to invert it, actually. I can make these into flaps. This is another thing that has been missing from Kerbal Space Program for quite some time. Now we have it. So you can make those. Not only can you decide whether it's a rudder, whether it's an elevator, aileron, or some mix of all the above. Now you can also make it into a flap, which, if you turn it sideways, kind of the same thing. It could be a air brake too. Oh, let me see. Did I miss any of? Oh yeah, we talked about those. We talked about those. Lots and lots of airplane parts. I like them. I think they're cool. Oh, hey, yeah, there's another thing we need to talk about. Let's, here's how am I going to do this. First off, I'll just stick that thing on there. We've changed our nose cone, our aviation nose cone, or nose cone system adapter. So we've got that on there. So we've got something you can, this carries fuel inside of it. You can use this as a nose cone. You can also use this as another, a fueled adapter to go from the 0.625 meter to 1.25. So I think that's pretty cool. Yep, that's pretty nifty. But right now, the mission that I have, the mission is, oh, we didn't load this. There's no thumbnail because I just moved this save file over from my other, from my other save file. Let's load in my Leaf. Here's things. Oh, that landing gear! The landing gear! We've got new landing gear. Okay, yeah, for the longest time in Kerbal Space Program, this has been our only aircraft landing gear. Now we've got more. Let's go over here to our utility tab. There's our small landing gear. Here is our medium landing gear, is what I've installed on my Leaf aircraft. It's a Leaf. It soars in the wind like a leaf. Leaf on the wind. And we've got a large landing gear for, like, big Monzo huge. I think this is probably actually what I had on the Pale Pachyderm. Yeah, the landing gear is much, much too large for this aircraft. But, yeah, there it is. That's pretty cool. We've got the light that is shining on here. The lights on. I believe that is actually a bug in the released version. They will not have the light always on, so I hope I don't get in trouble for seeing that. Crew. Okay, Valentina is my pilot, and we'll have all these other guys. We'll take 4 of these other Kerbals to be here. So yeah, 2 males, 2 females. So we have female Kerbals now. I guess, you know, originally the concept for Kerbals was that they were supposed to be asexual. But it just ended up it didn't work like that. And so, you know, we had half of humanity who might feel that they were not represented by Kerbals, and now they are. So that's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and launch this thing, why don't we? So we're going to fly this airplane, and in the course of flying it, talk about some of the major changes to the whole aerodynamic system. See, for the longest time, the aerodynamic system that we've all known and loved has been a placeholder. This has never been the way that the air in Kerbal Space Program is supposed to work. Hang on, there's Valentina. You can see her. I think she looks cool. I think they did a very good job on making changing the model to do a feminine looking Kerbal, and it's still, you know, I'll say it this way. It would have been easy to make it look ridiculous, but she does not look ridiculous. She looks pretty cool. Yep. Then we got a couple more in there. They're all smiling. Everybody's all happy. Good. Okay. Yeah, we set up parking brakes. My speed brake popped open. Let's turn that off. Give it a little bit of pitch trim right off the bat. And let's throttle up. While we're on the takeoff roll, I'll demonstrate one thing here. Head tracking works. This is I'm changing the direction that the camera looks by a camera that is attached to the top of my monitor. Let's retract that landing gear. Pretty cool, huh? Alright, but I understand maybe not a lot of people won't like that view, so we'll just do it kind of, be sparing with it. Alrighty, here we are, already going supersonic. Give it a little bit more pitch trim. Okay, so the aerodynamic system has been totally revamped. Infiniglide, the bug where if you had enough wing on a small aircraft that you didn't even need an engine, you could just keep gliding forever, that bug is fixed. What the people called air hogging, where they just stacked, multiple, you could stack a couple of dozen air intakes onto any given, for any given engine, and you get incredible performance out of it. That bug has been fixed. The entire way that not only wings but also every other part, the way it interacts with the air, has been changed in a way that is much closer to reality than it's ever been before, but still it is slightly simplified. The true hardcore realism fanatics, this is still not quite realistic aerodynamics, because the things, some of the stability issues that come with having wings of various shape going through the transonic and supersonic, those stability things, those stability problems that happen with some shaped wings have very deliberately not been added here. I need to keep on pitching back more. I'm trying to get this thing up to above at least 8 kilometers. See if I click on this and you see, yeah, my thrust is tapering off. These Rapier engines, they've been made so that they don't have a great deal of thrust at low altitudes and at low airspeeds, and really at low Mach numbers. I need to get this thing above Mach 1, actually above Mach 1.2. This is the semi-realistic way that they're doing the aerodynamics. The wings, the code that handles how the wings interact with the air changes according to how fast you're going, and also according to your altitude. At low speed, low altitudes, they act like these larger, more cambered wings. They give you more gentle lift characteristics. They make it easier to fly. At high speeds, at high altitudes, I'm just looking at this thrust number here. Pretty soon, I need to pitch back a little bit more. At high speeds, high altitudes, high Mach numbers, the code, it changes how the wings interact with the air in such a way that they act more like these, narrow, straight wings, but swept back. So the net effect is it makes aircraft easier to fly. It's also, even though I have the SAS off, it does have a little bit of stability assist that's kind of working in the background just to make things easier to deal with. Let's pitch back a little bit more. Come on, guys. They've made an unusual choice in that I cannot see my airspeed. I cannot see my Mach number. The closest way that I have to judge what's happening with that is just previous experience looking at the altitude, looking at the surface speed, and looking at my thrust number on this engine. Let's pitch back a little bit more. Is this going to work? Have I already screwed this up? I need to... Okay, I want to get up here, and then I'm going to pitch forward. I do say that if you get into the debug menu, there is a way to see what your actual temperature is, what your airspeed is, what your Mach number is, but you have to go looking for it. You have to enable that option in the debug menu. It is not enabled by default. Okay, and now I know that it is at the appropriate Mach number just from looking at... I can see that even though it's climbing, yeah, our thrust is still increasing. Okay. And let's keep on going on the air breathing mode for as long as possible at this point. I know I have the fuel for it. Okay. And the switch mode right there. That's good. Okay, now we're in space. These engines are going to burn fairly efficiently. Let's go ahead and raise our orbit up some. Get our apoapsis up there to about 100. I really don't think I have enough fuel to do this. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to revert flight, I'm going to cease recording, and I'm going to come back. But I just wasn't practicing with this spaceship recently before recording. Yeah, okay, I'll come back whenever it's working. I'll be right back. Yeah, we're going to dock to this station. Really, I'm just going to abbreviate some of this stuff because I want to drop my Kerbals off, and then my goal is I need to talk some about re-entry. So yeah, first let's deliver our guys to the station. So while I'm approaching the target, I should talk about the change to the camera mode. Okay, so here's our traditional orbital camera mode, and our chase camera mode has become something different. But if you want the traditional, the old chase camera mode is now called locked. This is what I'm accustomed to, where it'll stay locked to the same orientation relative to the spacecraft. Yep, and just like that. Okay, good. So, everybody off. We got all these passengers in here. We're gonna be doing some transferring. And Wig, get up here. So, now the next thing we want to talk about is re-entry. Okay, technically there is re-entry heat. However, what I'm going to demonstrate is at the default settings, if you're doing just like a conventional re-entry from a usual orbit like this, you don't really need to worry about the re-entry heat. I wanted to decouple, please. Undock, thank you. Looking at this, I think we have just enough fuel. I mean, we've got lots of fuel, but I think we've got just enough oxidizer to run the engines enough to get Valentina back home. Yeah, let's lower the orbit some first. And get us away from the station. Oh man, am I going to have enough fuel to do this? I think just barely. Yeah, let's go for it this orbit here. We'll go for a re-entry burn. I want to take my periapsis down to 20 kilometers, if I've got enough oxidizer to do it. Yep, okay, 19. Alright, let's flip this thing around the correct direction in a hurry. Hit the button, let's close up our docking port, close up our solar panels. Okay, now, spaceplane parts all have a temperature limit of about 2,000 degrees. There's been a part of the, one aspect of the part rebalancing that's happened is that everything has a new temperature limit. Mostly they're either 1,200 degrees or 2,000 degrees. The thing is that in a re-entry like this, if you go into the debug menu, which I'm not going to do in the preview video, but you know where it is. If you go into the debug menu and you enable it to observe the temperature, just on a totally normal re-entry like this, we're not doing anything too crazy, the temperature is probably not going to get above, say, 700. So while the temperature system is in the game, these things are absorbing heat, they are radiating heat, and they're conducting heat from one part to another. You don't really need to, at the default difficulty setting, at the default temperature setting, you don't need to worry about it unless you're doing something really crazy like, say an aerobraking from an interplanetary transfer. If you're not doing anything like that, then it's just not going to get hot enough. If you are doing aerobraking from interplanetary transfers, then and if you're not using a space plane, if you want to use a capsule for some strange reason, then we do have new heat shields and also service compartments that you can store your science experiments inside. I think I don't want to pitch up at all at the moment. This is looking pretty good. We're just gonna keep the thing just going straight ahead. I'm really not touching the controls at the moment, just allowing it to weather vane directly into the wind. Alright, I'll give it a little roll correction, keep it straight, going straight up. But yeah, the thing is, I am completely unconcerned about temperature at this point. There is the slider in the difficulty settings for that save, and I have not played around with it to see how punishing the temperature system will be. The re-entry heat will be if you turn it up to 120%. And also, I do have to point out that as this is an early access experimental version, and the aerodynamics and heat management is still a work in progress, I'm going to say it is still possible that it'll change between now and the actual released version. Alright, I am going to try something at this point. We're going to go for some more aggressive braking. So I'm going to put the thing sideways and, oops, nope, keep that roll under control, guys. Alright, let's try it with the SAS since that was being kind of unstable. There we go. Pitch back, get some ridiculous G-forces going. Good. Turn that off. There we go. And we're still too high and too fast. Let's pitch back some more. Look at those G forces. 5 Gs. Definitely not going to need all those engines. We'll cut it back down to 2 engines. There we go. Yeah, this kind of stuff that, I mean, you could do these kinds of maneuvers in the old aerodynamic system, but it was so incredibly awkward. It just never felt right. If you've ever played any flight sim, any other flight sim that had and you had some understanding of how to expect aircraft to handle in the wind. Oh, okay. I mean, I'll admit that what we have right here, this isn't perfectly realistic either. I believe I mentioned earlier that, yeah, we do have some like hidden stability assists and things like that. But it feels a lot better. The flying currently in the game is a compromise between those who want more realism in the way that the aircraft handle and those who want just easy gameplay. And I believe it is a good compromise. I like the way the aircraft fly in this system. I know that it's being... I know that it's helping you out. I know that it's being unrealistically too stable. And I don't mind. It's okay. Let's extend that landing gear. Extend the landing gear, I said. Hello. Thought sure I hit the button. Maybe I didn't. Yeah, okay. We'll do some air braking. We'll pop that thing out there just a bit. Bleed off some airspeed. Oop, don't let the nose pop up too much. Okay. And a big flare right about there. Allow it to settle down. And more brakes. I just now noticed we get the danger pinch point. That's excellent. Okay. Yeah, in the old aerodynamic system, that was its chief sin, was things that there was way too much drag down too low, and it resulted in things like trying to estimate your glide path down to a landing. I mean, once you got within a couple of thousand meters of the ground, it's immediately you ran into the soup and things just dragged to a stop. No longer happening. It is easier to judge your glide path, and flying feels a lot more natural. It feels easier, and it is more fun. I like the aerodynamics system. Okay, let's recover that vessel, and let's start talking about the next point. So let's talk about this whole resource usage thing, this in situ, I don't actually know how to pronounce it, in situ resource utilization. What this means is it's a system. They've taken Rover Dude's his Carbonite mod, and they've based a new system on that. Tell you what, we'll just use this to hook parts up to. So the way this is gonna work. First thing you're gonna do is you're going to scan for resources. We have a variety of scanners. We have this big survey scanner. Look at that. It'll give you like the big picture. Then we have a narrowband scanner. Let's see, does this one open up? Yep. Actually, it doesn't open up. Nope. Which gives you finer detail, but it does not give you the big picture. And then once you get down there and you actually land and you're looking for resources to use, we have a surface scanning module. Yep. That'll help you. Let me see. Atmospheric fluid spectrovariometer. So I'm gonna be just brutally honest with you, fine people. I haven't used this system a whole lot. I'll be honest, I'm really not certain exactly how to use that one, but it's there and it's definitely part of the system. It is a good-looking part. Rover Dude makes good-looking parts. Maybe I should apologize for not having used them a whole lot. I spent a whole lot more time playing around with the airplanes, but in any case, you use the scanners, you find the resources, and you decide where you're going to drill. When you drill, you get a drill-o-matic mining excavator. Here, let me see, let's put it on, not that way. How about like that? There we go. And deploy that drill. Which looks pretty freaking cool to me. It's just a great, fun-looking part. When you collect the ore, you go and you put it in. We've got a couple of things here. We have a large holding tank in which to hold ore. We also have a small holding tank, right? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Small holding tank. There we go. Yeah, that guy there. After you collect the ore in your small holding tanks, you can choose to either transport the ore someplace where you're going to process it, or you can process it right there wherever you're mining it with an ISRU converter, mobile processing plant. Okay, I thought I clicked on it. There we go. Another extremely cool looking part. And this thing will be able to take the ore that you collect, and you'll be able to use it to convert the ore into fuel, oxidizer, or monopropellant. You cannot do the what's the other one? The xenon. It's worth noting we have a new xenon tank. Check that thing out. Isn't that cool? Come on, stick on there. There we go. Really, this video is already going on so long, and as stated, I haven't played around with this a whole lot, so I'm going to demonstrate just one thing. We'll demonstrate like the first part of it. Don't save. Let's load up. I used my Petal aircraft. Where'd it go? Is survey scanner. Here we go. Here we go. It's a version of my Leaf space planes. One's slightly stretched. We don't have the crew compartment. Instead, we have a payload bay in which I put together a survey scanner with the large, the survey scanner, the large antenna for the big picture. It does not have fine detail. So make certain that we have Valentina. Jeb, get out of there. Valentina piloting, because this is her big update, and Jeb's had plenty of updates. I'm going to launch this thing to see if I remember how to do this one correctly. Not like I screwed up that other one. And let's get our survey scanner up there. Yep. There's a good takeoff. Okay. Let's go ahead and do a big left turn, because we're going for a polar orbit this time. Valentina looks like she is very happy about it. Okay, we got the pretty light show going on. And it's actually going to taper off our orbital speed. Yep. And it's going to start slowing down because we're losing our thrust. So let's switch modes. You know what? This one, for this particular case, it doesn't have to be perfectly circular. That's probably just good enough where it is. Okay, so let's deploy our satellite. Tell it to wake up, extend some panels. It's worth noting that these solar panels, the ones that don't have the cover, these have been changed so that once they extend, they stay extended. Come on, I want to open this up. Another thing, the first time that I tried using one of these new scanner parts, just a little while ago, it caught me by surprise. Even in a sandbox game where you're technically not collecting science, you still need a radio antenna in order to use the scanner part. There we go. Some of the brief documentation that we have in the experimentals, I did not see any note as to what is the best orbital altitude in which to use the scanner, but so I'm just going to make something up. I'm just going to say, because it seems to me that a higher altitude would be better, I'm going to put this thing up to, say, 500 kilometers. And just because it'll look better to my way of thinking. Okay, there is a 500-kilometer orbit. So let's wait. Let's allow my batteries to recharge some. Let's actually turn this direction to point my solar panels directly at the sun. Charge those things up. Because the survey scanner, it takes a lot of electricity. So right-click it, perform orbital survey. Perform orbital survey. So here, it is uploading data. It's starting a transmission, uploading data. It is consuming electric charge. Things are happening. It is working. It takes about a minute. Well, maybe less than a minute, but it takes half a minute to go through its entire process uploading the data. Notably different from, say the ScanSat mod from the Kethane mod. We don't watch the satellite go round and round the planet several times and keeping track of the width of the, the width of the track over the ground and seeing how much it can scan each time. It just works the first time. There we go. Okay, and now it defaults to going and putting this overlay over the continents of Kerbin. You can turn that on and off anytime you want by coming here and looking at the scanner. It's got a lot of different options. Color, monochromes, you can go and click this and it jumps through all these different options. And again, I'm being honest, I have not used this a whole lot. I'm not exactly certain exactly how to read this, but it has a lot of different options. Again, you can get into the map mode, and it's also there. We have the same relay that you can take a look at. If you highlight the planet, you can click on this key over here, turn the entire overlay on and off by clicking on that resource there, the ore that it's looking for, and you can again play with all these other style. This button here, change between the lines, the dots, the fog, more lines, yeah. And again, you can go and play with this. The cutoff, I imagined this which helps to highlight the actual concentrations. If you want stuff if you want to only know about concentrations in excess of 70%. So that's a whole lot of fun. Yeah, that's a major feature. I'm not going to go through working with the other types of scanners and going through the drilling and the resource extraction and the resource conversion. I believe that entire system, that's a video in and of itself. I'm certain that somebody's going to make a really decent tutorial video for that sometime soon. I'm not going to, not right now. All right, that's one other last major feature change, or really more of a balancing pass is what I need to take a look at, is the changes to career mode. So let's go take a look at that. There are changes to the tech tree. First off, all the nodes are visible. You can click on any of these and you can see what is in each node. This makes it possible to plan ahead of time and figure out exactly what direction you're going to go through the tech tree. Take a look. We've changed some of the starting parts. We have a new small solid rocket booster, the Flea, which is half the size of the RT-10, so it's called the RT-5. This is because for some of they thought that the original, that original solid rocket booster, that's maybe too much boost for your very first launch. Things were going wrong. Other things have moved around in this tech tree. You see, you start off with the goo, and then it gives you the Science Junior. Then we have to come down here before you get your thermometer, and further in order to where to go? Yeah, your barometer here. So we've the tech tree, as I record this, we're a couple of days away from release, and the tech tree is still very largely the same as it has been. That there have been a few changes, and there's still discussion over. I suspect that there may be some more changes that happen before this thing actually gets released. Maybe. I don't actually know. Yeah, we've our new little our fixed gear, our fixed landing gear. That's in the aviation tab. So I'm pleased about that. They are making aircraft more viable earlier in the tech tree. So that is very good for people who like airplanes, like me. Okay, so let's get out of here. There's been a big balancing pass to all of these strategies. They've changed. They knew that some of them were overpowered and others were never ever used, and they've changed the way these work. I'm not interested in talking about the details of them, in order to make these various strategies more viable, not so unbalanced, and something that'll be fun to use. Something else is happening in the contracts. See if we get over here. Here's a bunch of contracts we have. You always collect your, launch our first vessel. Of course you will. You'll get that one. More contracts. What is this? You start off. You have some contracts accepted already. Set altitude record, set distance record, set a speed record. And you may notice our active contracts, we have a maximum of 2. These records, these world's first and the records contracts do not count against your maximum number of actives. Okay, we'll start off, let's say you don't know about the trick and the strategy of going and collecting all the EVA reports and everything from the pad and from the runway. So let's go ahead and set things up. You don't have any decouplers. You've got one engine. Sure, there you go. Oh, hey, look at that. The parachute and the solid rocket booster are in the same stage. It gives you a warning about that. Isn't that nice? If you're paying attention to it. All right, let's fix that problem. Why don't we? Who's up? Who are we gonna do? We don't want Jeb. Do we want? But what if something goes wrong? I don't want to kill Valentina. What about Bill? Nobody cares about Bill. We'll run Bill. Why not? All right, let's launch. Woo! All right. Yeah, there's 10 Gs. There's 11 Gs. Okay, we are gathering contracts. So you saw how many contracts went by. We've got a bunch of them. We set an altitude record, 3,500 meters, set a speed record, set another speed record, set another speed record. We launched our first vessel. And I think we may get another altitude record. Yep, altitude record 7,500. So in the previous version of these things, if you missed collecting the collecting or accepting the contracts for a lot of these altitude records, and you're just out of luck. If you once you exceeded that altitude and you hadn't accepted the contract, then you just couldn't get that money. They have fixed that problem. Let's get a crew report, why don't we? Yay! Yeah, we'll keep that. Why not? Something else. This makes me think that for all those people who like using these capsules, and an effect of the new aerodynamics system, your descent is going to be a lot faster than you are accustomed to, and you're probably going to be going faster whenever the parachutes actually do deploy first. But they've balanced these things so that they do have a decent amount of drag in their the parachute in its reefed state before it actually opens up. We can be kind of nerve-wracking. And a landing without anything exploding. Wasn't that good, Bill? Did you enjoy it? Bill enjoyed it. He doesn't look like it. Just trust me, he enjoyed it. In addition to those changes to the contract, we've got greatly expanded variety of the contracts that are available if you get later on into a career. You have tourist contracts. We have Kerbals who you cannot control, but they are passengers, and they are paying your space agency money in order to say they just want a suborbital hop. It's suborbital tourism, which are here in the real world. This is a real business. This is a real business plan as a way to get money out of space, and that is reflected in the contracts. We also have things like a grand tour contracts, where you accept a contract to take a single vessel and go and see multiple different places. Just a lot of refinements and expansions to the overall contract system. The barn still isn't here, I believe, but that it's not forgotten, and I'm going to remind you as I wind this video up that, in addition to things could change between now and the release of version 1.0, the developers have already committed that they are going to continue developing the game after 1.0 goes live. So for everybody who wants to see the barn and that entire the Space Center lower tech than this, don't give up on it yet. It's very likely it is going to be here, just not in this update. Okay, I believe that's all of the major points. I know there are several. There's lots of just like little details which I couldn't even get around, but I'm looking at how long I've been talking. I'm wondering how I'm going to edit this down to a watchable length. But yeah, that it is a huge update. Last time I said it, last update video, I said it was maybe probably the biggest update ever, and people argued with me about it, so I'm just not going to say it this time. There. But it is definitely a very large update. Many things are happening. It's been a very pleasant experience getting a sneak peek at it, and I enjoy speaking with you people. I'll talk to everybody later. Goodbye.